I grew up in the long shadow cast by World War II. Of course I knew this, but it was really brought home to me when I took my then 8-year-old son to a hobby shop. I showed him the plastic model kits of Messerschmitts and Hurricanes, Heinkels, all those worthy aircraft that cruised through my own childhood imagination, and was amazed to find he wasn't interested. "It's your thing, Dad," he said, and it was. The odd thing is, it was really my parents' lives that were deeply affected by the war. I simply basked in its warm afterglow, with the uncomplicated hindsight that victory provides. And of course, there were organisations around only too willing to stoke my imaginative fire for a bit of cash. Tales of valiant British Tommies were everywhere, in films like 633 Squadron, Hurricane Brooks, The Dam Busters, The Bridge Over the River Kwai, and Where Eagles Dare, a film in which the Germans literally fall over themselves in an effort to be shot. In comics, often, I later learnt, paradoxically drawn by Italian artists. And in craft activities, like these plastic extrusion model kits made by Airfix. I haven't made a model in 50 years. But as we are locked in these days, what better time to have a go? To rekindle that old flame. And what better one to choose than the stalwart of my childhood imagination, the Supermarine Spitfire, the aircraft that in the summer of 1940 stood alone against the Nazi menace. These days, not much has changed with the kit, except the instructions, which now are completely visual. In the past they were written, numbered sentences mostly, beginning with the imperative, "Locate and cement." Sadly, as a result, a maker today is denied the massive vocabulary that I still have surrounding aircraft construction. Fuselage, undercarriage, tailplane, cockpit, aileron. But it's easier. We all made these things as boys. Everyone had a specialty skill they brought to the table. Mine was heating up a pin on my mother's stove and burning little rows of holes in the plastic to simulate machine gun hits. Once you'd made a model, however, and swished it around at arm's length making farty engine mouth sounds, there wasn't much you could do with it, except hang it with a cotton thread from your bedroom ceiling. There it gathered dust, until the fateful day when, inevitably bored, you set fire to it in the garden. Many of those who had actually seen aircraft burn and pilots die, however, were driven to put in place institutions to make sure such horrors of war between nations could never happen again. Institutions like the European Union. But those people are gone, and the people who are replacing them only have the horrors of European bureaucracy. Perhaps that's why Brexit happened. A fantasy of British national power from a nation of pretend Spitfire pilots. Anyway, it's come time to paint it. Airfix has generously provided a suggested colour scheme. I think I have my own ideas on how this should look. Yes, the Supermarine European Union Spitfire, for a future time when Europe stood alone against the British menace.